What's up guys, Gibson Nieuwenhuis here. I am excited for you guys to be joining us for Corinth Kids Sunday School during the summers. This is going to be a cool way for us to continue to engage with you guys during the summers, so let's dive into today's lesson. Hey guys, today's activity I am super excited for. So what I did is I compiled a list of things that I think you guys would want. There's 4 things on this list. Lego, Nintendo Switch 2, I know it just came out, you don't want the old Nintendo Switch, you want the 2, sports gear, or craft supplies. Now, maybe one of these is really jumping out at you guys, or maybe you're like me and a couple of these sound really interesting. For me, the 2 that sound really interesting that I really want are Lego and sports gear. For me, those are kind of the 2 top things that I would want off of this list, but the part of today's activity that gets it to be tricky is you can't have all 4, you can't have 3 of the 4, you can't even have 2 of the 4, you can only get 1 of them. So that's our scenario today, is what if I give you this list of great things, but you can only take 1 of them? It'd be a really hard choice for me. With Lego, I loved Lego when I was your guys' age, and I would love to have Lego again. I had these things called Bionicles. Ask your parents about it. They probably also know what I'm talking about. But I would love to have like one of those giant Lego sets of like the Millennium Falcon or something. That would be amazing. But also, I love to play sports. Specifically, the sport that I love to play the most is golf. It used to be soccer, but I'm getting a little bit older now, so it's golf. So if you're telling me that I can either have a Lego Millennium Falcon or all the golf gear I can think of, that's a pretty hard choice for me to make. I would probably lean towards Lego being the one that I would choose though. I really want that Millennium Falcon. And for me, it would probably end up being choosing Lego, but maybe you are stuck between like craft supplies and Lego or Nintendo Switch 2. It can be a tough choice when you're given a list like this. The Israelites, they also had a tough choice to make. See, all the nations around them had an earthly king. They had a king who was ruling over them, and they started to look around and they decided, we kind of want a king also. That wasn't God's plan for them though. God was their king. They didn't need an earthly king because God was their king. That's why they had judges in the first place. But they decided to reject God as their king, and they asked for an earthly king, and so that's exactly what God gave them. So with today's activity, make sure that you put down in the comments below which one of these you would choose. Don't add your own. I know you want to. But pick and tell us which one of these you would have. Put it in the comments. So one of our take-home activities, outside of putting your choice in the comments below, what I want you guys to do is to play a game, and we've played this in Sunday school all the time, which is Old or New Testament. You can do it with a sibling, you can do it with a parent, and the way that you play this game, it's super easy, is you just throw out a book of the Bible. Say Hebrews, is that Old or New Testament? It's New Testament. I know it kind of sounds Old Testament, but it's New Testament. Or I could throw out the book of Malachi, right? Malachi, is that Old or New Testament? That's Old Testament, you're right. Now here's the tricky one. Where's the book of Hezekiah? That's right, that's Mr. Gibson's favorite because it doesn't actually exist, but it sounds like it does. Maybe I tricked you there, maybe I didn't. But I encourage you guys, play that game, and you know what? You might be able to actually beat your parents on this one. So, really put them to the test. Our story today is in 1 Samuel, which is in the Old Testament. And I know that the person of Jesus, the incarnate, that's a big word for being in a body, of Jesus isn't in the Old Testament, but the Old Testament still tells us the story of Jesus and God's big plan to rescue humanity from our sins. And that's why we have the Old and the New Testament. So both are super important. So enjoy that game. So we have a couple of scriptures to read today from our story and that sort of relate to our story. So our first one is from 1 Samuel chapter 10, verses 17 through 19. And it says this: Samuel summoned the people of Israel to the Lord at Mizpah and said to them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought Israel up out of Egypt, and I delivered you from the power of Egypt and all the kingdoms that oppress you. But you have now rejected your God, who saves you out of all your disasters and calamities. And you have said, 'No, appoint a king over us.' So now present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and clans." So that's kind of a tough passage, but I would encourage you guys to write down the good things that God has done for his people and share whichever responses that you would like in the comments. So grab some of those good things that have happened and put them down in the comments below. Our next one is from the book of Isaiah, so still Old Testament, chapter 33, verse 22. "For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. It is he who will save us." So the king that gets chosen goes by the name of Saul, King Saul. You might have heard of him before. Saul, well, he wasn't the best guy, and he was never a king that could save the people from their sin. So after Saul, the Israelites had a lot of other kings. We're going to focus on some of them, but none of them could bring salvation and save the people from their sins like God can. And so the people continued on sinning, and eventually they were actually taken captive by a foreign nation. We're going to talk about that probably during this coming school year and program year. We're not there yet, but that is coming down the road because the people chose a king that couldn't save them from their sins. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Before we go, a few reminders. In the description below is the link to the Bible story video. That is going to be so important because that gives you the full story of what we talked about in today's video. Also, you can follow along with our key passage, our big question, and some activities to do at home as we go throughout the summer. So those are going to be super important for you guys. Also, we would love to see you in person in our Sunday school corner over in the hub here at church. Come hang out with us, say hi. We would love to see you out there. But until next time, it's been good hanging with you.